Oh, oh, terrible timing. Just terrible timing. Terrible timing.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
And young enough to do.
well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. But it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight?
A man whose record shows that he will fight for what is right.
A loyal man who'll bring the job a fresh new point of view? Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Cause it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy, Kennedy, Kennedy.
And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's promised in the Bill of Rights to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. And it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy, Kennedy, Kennedy.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy, and the change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
I totally forgot to reach back and get my microphone. Oh my gosh. I completely, literally forgot to reach back and get the microphone. Welcome, welcome, welcome from my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley. Part of the Lehigh Valley and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States. North American continent, Western Hemisphere. On this planet Earth, the only one we have. Third rock from the sun. In the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect live with you for Sunday, December the 8th, 2024. Just welcome to all. Thank you for being patient. I can't help but laugh. I just can't, because it's just ridiculousness. I came up here early, like early. I generally come up here early. When I say come up here, I have a townhouse. It's a 2-story townhouse. It's the second and third floor of the building. There's actually a residence underneath us on the first floor. So I come up to this bedroom / office / studio to get all the settings together, to type in the show headers and get the software going, such as it is. And when I say going, I mean, I guess I say that in a very general way. And George will be happy to know that this microphone seems to be dying on me. I have a feeling I'm going to have to switch it out for the other one pretty soon. This one seems to be getting worse and worse. All the equipment seems to be dying on us at the same time. I'll get to that a little bit later, but yeah, so I'll get to that. Trust me, I'll get to that. But I came up early, got all the settings done. Everything was looking pretty good, and then here I am, prepared to talk to you. Getting ready to say hello to you, and I realize I don't have a microphone in front of me. It's just, it's ridiculous on a lot of levels. Let's just be honest. It's ridiculous on a lot of levels. It just is what it is. It's ridiculous. It's silly. It's craziness. It just shouldn't happen. And It just is what it is. I don't know. It's just losing my mind, I guess. I honestly don't know. But anyway, that said, hello, hello, hello. Thanks for being there. And it's really it's a pleasure to talk to all of you, as it always is. It is December 8th. We are only 3 Sundays away from Christmas. It's the first day of Advent. Kristen and I were honored to light the first Advent candles at Central Moravian Church today. And believe me, it was nothing short of an honor for us to do that. And it meant a lot for us. We are members of the church. It is not, I don't think, ridiculous or out of the question to think that we would be asked to do such a thing. But we were very blessed to be asked, honored to be asked, humbled to be asked. And here we are. We did it. I did it, and I didn't burn the church down, which is lovely to think that I did not burn down a church. It was built in 1752, if I'm recalling correctly. Should you ever visit Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, as you should, by the way, it's a wonderful, wonderful city. It is gorgeous. It is historic. It is, I think it's actually one of those places that might sort of remind you, if not restore, if not just outright restore. I don't even know what angle to talk into this thing anymore. I don't know what part of it's working and what part of it isn't. If you all can't hear me very well out there, you just give me a shout. I think it's one of those places that just might restore your faith in America to an extent, which sounds like a very, very heavy and weighty statement, but you will see pieces of America from before it was America. You will see a cemetery where whites, blacks, Asians, women, children are buried all next to each other in equality, in two separate words, in equality. Long before it was in vogue to do so. Beautifully historic colonial buildings, English colonial, really, think about it. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous city. I invite you to visit it. One of the great things that is outside of Central Moravian, especially the Old Chapel, is a plaque about some of the folks who have worshipped there, including George Washington and Madison, Jefferson, Marquis de Lafayette, General Kosciuszko, William Penn, Governor Morris of New Jersey. And I lit an Advent candle there today, and that's a pretty darn cool thing. You can do something like that. I will go into the Moravian archives as along with Kristen, having lit an Advent candle in a place where General Washington worshipped. That's pretty freaking cool, I think. It was a pretty neat day. I'm also sick again. I'm always seems to be sick these days. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but I'm quite stuffed up. I was sneezing before I started. Had quite a healthy big sneeze there right before I started, and you might have heard me in the pre-show here say what terrible timing that was. Had to run off camera to try to clear everything out, and breathing, of course, has been a problem. But we're here now. We have a short program tonight. Normally, our Sunday programs are 3 hours long. They are not. It is not tonight. We will only be with you until 7 p.m. I have to fulfill my duties as a state committee person here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I have a meeting with my county party this evening that I must attend, and it begins a little bit after 7 p.m. It's supposed to begin at 7 p.m. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you that Democratic meetings never start on time. So I need to be out of here. I need to sign off with you. I should have a moment or two to get a drink, gather myself, and then I need to log into another Zoom. And then we have a meeting that I need to attend. I need to tune into from, maybe 5 after 7 or so. So I can't be with you for the full 3 hours tonight. We're here for the first hour. I will be with you again, of course, on Tuesday and Thursday for our TKE Tonight program on GCPR from 8 to 9, and that's Tuesday and Thursday. Let's get through the business end of the program. You are watching The Kennedy Effect for Sunday, December the 8th, 2024. Only 2 more Sundays, tonight plus 2 more Sundays until Christmas. And in case we haven't done so yet, let us, all of us here that surround The Kennedy Effect and TKE Tonight, wish all of you at GCPR, all of you at Hop 101, all of you at the media group, all of you at Our Revolution, all of you at PDX, all of you at America One, and all of you individuals around the world, here in the States, outside the States, everywhere. We wish you the best of the holiday season, no matter what you celebrate, no matter how you celebrate, or if you celebrate at all. We wish you the best of this season. This is a very busy season. It is a season for a lot of people to celebrate a lot of different things, not just Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa, but there are, there are Celtic festivals. There's the winter solstice. There are, celebrations that go back thousands and thousands of years. Whatever it is that you celebrate, or if anything at all, during this time of year, we simply wish you the best, as we always do. Stay healthy, stay safe, visit family. Don't let them tell you different. Eat as much as you want. Just stay healthy and happy, and visit with those that you wish to be in your presence. And I don't mean presents wrapped in paper either. I mean presents. Be present in the moment, and be in the presence of those with which you wish to be present with. We will be with you till 7 p.m. tonight. We'll be with you on Tuesday and Thursday. That's the plan. And then again, of course, next Sunday. That's the plan. That's the upcoming schedule. You are watching us live right now on the Facebook pages. I almost said peaches. I don't know where that came from. My goodness. Look, told you folks 1,000 times, I'm not smarter than any of you. I'm not better than any of you. I might have more experience in politics and history, but I'm not better or smarter than any of you. And sometimes just really weird crap comes out of my head, and I'm not sure where that came from. Anyway, you are watching us live on the Facebook pages of Our Revolution Pennsylvania, the TCP Media Group, Hot101.net, Ghost Claw Productions, my own humble Facebook page, Jeff Kennedy. My name is right there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And, of course, our home group Facebook page for all things that surround our program, That Other Side of Information. That also happens to be the name of our YouTube channel, That Other Side of Information. That is also our YouTube channel. We are live there right now. We are live on YouTube, youtube.com/That Other Side of Information. It's always the best place to go, by the way, not just to watch us live, but you can also watch all of our recorded programs there. If you ever miss any of our shows, YouTube is always the best place to go, because they are recorded there from the minute that we go off the air. You can find our programs right there. You don't have to wait. They don't have to convert. They don't have to finish downloading. Nothing. They're right there. They're right there. YouTube.com/That Other Side of Information. We're also live right now on Twitch. Jeff R. There's an R in the middle there. R like red. R like Richard. Robert. Roberto. Jeff R. Kennedy. There, and we are live on LinkedIn. Jeff R. Kennedy. Or no, there's no R on LinkedIn. Well, I got that wrong. Jeff Kennedy on LinkedIn as well. The audio of the program blasting out on 2 internet radio stations. One, of course, one of the very, very first, one of the foundational beginnings of global internet radio, and that is, of course, Hot101.net. If you don't know how to listen to Hot101.net, I'm going to tell you all about it right now. Our name is our web address, Hot101.net, HOT101.net, Hot101.net. Our name is our web address. Type that into any search engine, website will pop up and you will be listening, period. You don't have to log in, no credit card, no money, no blood sample, don't have to sign over your house, donate your firstborn, none of that. You're just listening. Type it in and you're listening. You don't even need to use the website, though, if you really don't want to. You can use one of our apps. If you have an Apple device, go to the Apple App Store, search for hot101.net. If you have an Android device, go to the Google Play Store, search for hot101.net, download the apps, open it up, and boom, you're listening. It's that simple. Again, no login, no registration, no money, no nothing. Just type in, download the apps, open them, you're listening, period. If you have a different type of device, you don't have Apple or Android, go to the TuneIn, TuneIn, TuneIn radio app, go up to the search bar, type in hot101.net, you can listen to us there. TuneIn works on basically any type of device, no matter what the operating system. TuneIn seems to work on everything. So if you have any other type of device, Apple or Android, just do TuneIn radio app. You can Bluetooth it, of course, off of your device to headphones and speakers and earbuds, and you can do it in the car. That's interesting. George is telling me we're not on GCPR. According to me, I am. According to shows, I am. You can Bluetooth it to earbuds, speakers, anything you want. Bluetooth it in the car, which I think is a very underrated place to Bluetooth it to. You can Bluetooth it in the car and listen on your car stereo and sing along. Nobody ever gets to hear you sing in the car. You can just wail away. Nobody cares. You always sound really good in the car anyway. It's like singing in the shower. You sound great in the car. You can do that too. Hot101.net. You should be listening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Listen to Hot101.net. There's plenty of hours in the day to listen to Hot101.net. We're also live on GCPR, GCPR.live. I had a brain cramp and I thought I misspelled live. I'm having lots of brain cramps. And I told you I was sick, and I am. And I think you can hear it a tiny bit in my voice. There's a little wispy, like old guy weakness to my voice. I'm sick. I think my brain's a little misfiring. GCPR.live. GCPR.live. Ghost Claw Productions Radio. .live. Go there to our website, very much like 101. Hit the play button in the upper right hand corner, and you're listening. No login, no money, no retina scan, no firstborn, no mortgage. You're there, you're listening, period, end of story. You're good to go. One of the fun things on the website right now is you have a chance to join us and test our Android app. Just scroll down, you'll see a place that says help us test, read about it, and you can try to help us, or you can become part of the group that helps us test out our new app. I think I got everybody. I think we're also sharing the program to 2 other networks as well. I think we might be at PDX. I think we might be at America One as well. If we have time, we will take calls later in the program. We're only here for another 40 minutes. We're here till 7, maybe a little over 7:05, or something along those lines. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I told you I'm sick. I am. I am definitely faking it till you make it sort of thing going on today. I don't feel great. That's for darn sure. I'll tell you that. Oh goodness, I don't feel great. Not even a little. So let's proceed, shall we? Let's get to. George is sick as well. For those of you who might be following some of the drama with our tech issues as well, I just shut off that. Turn off the GCP. Um, George is not logged into the program. He's not on screen. He's not even logged in because we are both, our hardware now has degraded to the point where George um, can't even log into the program right now without it. Just it doesn't seem to damage anything on my end. He just can't get in anymore. So it's not worth the effort. He's monitoring the program. He's in the chat. If anybody wants to say hello to George, George is here. You can talk to him. He is still a completely integral, completely necessary. Can't do the show without him. Part of this program, and always will be. But simply because he's not on screen doesn't mean he's not here. He is here. He just happens to be not logged in to the actual broadcast feed that you're seeing, but he is here. So you can see him. I think some of you actually can see him. So as far as the chat goes, let me quickly say good evening to Randall and me. Dummy. So stupid saying hi to myself. Isn't that ridiculous? I see myself. I'm saying hello to my own comments, which is just ridiculous. To Junquia, which I hope I'm saying that right. To Christopher, we have missed you, sir. Very nice to see you. Randall is here. Donna is here. I think I said Randall. Donna is here. That's great. I told you George is in the chat. He is. Randall mentions that on Saturday the 3rd is when we get married. It's actually Saturday the 4th, but you're close. You know, definitely splitting hairs there. I'm definitely being meticulous on that part, but I have to start remembering my anniversary now. Should be easy to remember. We have, Christmas, New Year, her birthday, what will be the anniversary. I mean, that should be pretty easy to remember. But yes, on Saturday the 4th is the big day. Let's get into the program here. Oh, I will, again, if we have time, we've got about 35 minutes left of the program. Again, we can bleed a little bit over the 7 o'clock hour, but not too long, because I literally am going to say goodnight to you, and I have to immediately log into another meeting. So I don't in any way mean to cut you all off or be short or anything like that, but I do have responsibilities I have to live up to tonight. So that's there's that part of it. But that said, if you were, Americans don't always do the greatest job of paying attention to the news on weekends, but there was big news this weekend, and news that I happen to believe should have made an impact on all of us. And that is, for years in the latter stages of the Obama administration into the Trump regime, Syrian rebels tried to oust the Assad regime in Syria. Now, history of the Middle East is deeply, deeply complicated. It is muddied. It is terribly, terribly oversaturated with religion. So much of it begins with the very, very arbitrary drawing of borders by the British, the French, and to a very underrated extent, the Americans. when the British and French as colonial powers were forced to shrink their empires following the two great world wars. They just drew these borders, again, rather arbitrarily. They split clans and families and tribes, sometimes down the middle. Many of the borders that were drawn in the Middle East when the British and French first pulled out were drawn on behalf of Western industrial corporations, especially oil companies. That the oil fields were put under friendly regimes, where the barren deserts were put under unfriendly. Some of it, not all of it, was not too terribly more complicated than that. And where wealth was discovered after it had been put under the feet of unfriendly regimes, well then, covert operators just simply went in and overthrew those regimes. So many of these borders were very arbitrarily drawn. The original Syrian civil war, well, I should back up. What became the leadership in Syria while technically recognized as a monarchy, is in essence more of a dictatorship. While Assad was generally referred to as the president, he really was more of a king. And his father was king before him. He became king when his father passed away, being firstborn. And by all indications and by all reporting when that transfer took place, the current Assad, if you will, because he's been ousted, but accepted the role very, very begrudgingly. By all reporting that I recall from the time, really had no interest in becoming the ruler of Syria, but did because he understood his familial duty to maintain power. A power that he planned to pass on his firstborn son eventually as well. And it would also appear, so now I think I'm beginning to arrange my thoughts a bit here. It would appear that Assad went from someone who had no interest in the job to someone who absolutely under no circumstances was going to give it up. The original Syrian civil war began as a result of the Arab Spring. Most of the Arab Spring were actually results of climate change. A drought spread through the Middle East. Farmers all through the Middle East saw their farmlands turned to desert. Not just drought, but literally turned to desert. They fled to the cities in mass numbers looking for food and for work, under the promise that the government would take care of them, or at least take care of them until such a time that the drought alleviated and they could return back to farming. Governments throughout the region did none of the above. They didn't take care of them. They didn't house them. They didn't feed them. They didn't make them whole. Children starved. Entire farm towns disappeared. People got pissed off. People in the cities began to get pissed off because they started running short of food. And they began to look around at the thousands and thousands of homeless people in their cities and going, what is all this? Why isn't the government doing something? On both sides, the government was getting it. And these monarch-like, dictatorial-like governments throughout the Mideast, the sort of old-fashioned medieval type governments of the people pay taxes and I'll take a skim off the top of that and just throw that in my pocket, which happens all across the Middle East, began to suddenly not look so good anymore to people. People will generally look the other way for things like that as long as they have a job. They can keep a roof over their heads. Their children have a school to go to. They can keep a car. They can take a family trip occasionally. You know, they can take care of themselves. People are generally okay with that kind of stuff. They'll look the other way, like, that's what rich people do. They all skim off the top. I'm okay. I have a bank account. I have some money in the savings. We can take a trip to, wherever once, twice a year. Maybe not Disneyland Paris, but we can go to the shoreline. We can take our trip to Mecca. We can do whatever it might be. Well, the original Syrian civil war failed because the rebels couldn't keep a steady flow of arms. The Russians went full in on behalf of Assad, largely because they had gas pipelines across Syria, and they wanted to protect that investment, if you will. They wanted to make sure that the gas continued to flow across Syria to the ports, loaded onto ships, and shipped out. Russia wanted to continue that income. And if the Assad government fell, that very well could have ended. Or maybe the rebels would have taken the gas for themselves. Or maybe they would have taken all the money from the gas themselves. Or maybe they would have told the Russians, oh, we'll keep your gas flowing, now you pay us. Or maybe they would have nationalized the pipelines and said that pipeline runs on our land, which means all our people will benefit from it, not just the generals and the high-ranking clerics and Assad and his friends. And the Russians went all in. They sent troops. They sent every type of armament that Assad wanted. They conducted bombing raids. They bombed Syrian civilians with white phosphorus, with gas, with incendiary, with napalm, what we would have thought of as napalm in the Vietnam era. The U.S. put troops there, only about 2,000 of them. And they didn't really see a lot of action. But they kept the Russians and the Assad government from attacking civilians. Until one night, when the Russians decided, you know what, we're going to move them out. This is a very unknown little piece of history. And the Russians decided, we're taking out those Americans. And they sent about 5,000 troops in to take out about 2,000 Americans. And they went full bore. They went tanks, they went heavy artillery, full 9 yards. And the Americans slaughtered them. I don't think the Americans even took an injury. Morning Joe talks about this occasionally. And it was a hell of a blow to Putin. In fact, the reporting from the Russian side after this so-called skirmish and misunderstanding, and by the way, both sides talked about it that way, as a quote-unquote misunderstanding and a small skirmish. They labeled it as a misidentification of who was who. And what turns out is that the Americans killed all 5,000 troops. And to my understanding, didn't even take an injury. Like literally not a single casualty. We tend to always think of casualties as deaths. In military terms, a casualty is an injury or a death. But we kept the peace there until Trump removed them all. And then the Russians swept through the area and killed all the rest of the civilians. And that was supposedly the end of the rebellion. Well, within just a week, the rebels rose again and marched all the way through Damascus. Damascus, by the way, a city whose history goes back to before the Roman Empire. It's one of the oldest cities on earth. It's one of the first cities on earth. And now the rebels control Syria. Assad fled and is now in Moscow. So why is any of this important? Why does any of this matter to you? Why didn't the Russians go back and help Assad again? Why does any of this matter? Why do I care who controls Syria? Well, there's a couple reasons. Well, there's more than a couple reasons, but I mean, there's some very obvious ones. Somebody still is going to control the flow of gas, natural gas, across Syria. Will the Russians control it? Will the rebels control it? Will the fossil fuel industry control it? If so, if it's the fossil fuel industry, which sector of the fossil fuel industry? Will it be Gazprom, the Russian natural gas cooperative? Cooperative is probably a really generous term for it. Will it be Western fossil fuel companies? Will the Saudis go in and take control of it? What does the fact that the Russians did not go in and help Assad tell us? It tells us that they did not have the capacity to help him. They could not spare the troops. They could not spare the ammunition. They could not spare the shells or the tanks or the cannon. They could not launch airstrikes because they're fighting a war in Ukraine. Why are they fighting a war in Ukraine? Because we are arming the Ukrainians. And this is why we are arming Ukrainians. Two things that very well perhaps, look, you're all smart people. I'm not any smarter or better than any of you. But here's two things that you may not have necessarily connected in your brains that are very, very much connected. Because the Russians are so busy, not bogged down, unfortunately, the Russians are winning in Ukraine. They're gaining territory every day. They have turned the tide. They simply have more men to throw at this fight than the Ukrainians do. Both sides appear to be pretty equally armed. The Ukrainians might even be better armed because they have better technologically. That's bad grammar. That's really terrible grammar because I can't even finish that sentence and make it make sense. They're better technologically armed than the Russians. The Russians have way more people to throw into this fight than the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians, I think, actually just within the last week or so, expanded their draft again. And they're also facing, going back to the American Revolution, appears to be the standard percentage of defections. Not defections, it's not the right word. Desertions, really, is the right word. As the winter sets in. The Russians have it too. They just have troops that just go home because it's winter and it's cold and their families need them at home. And they come back in the spring and they fight again. They make sure the farm's all set and then they come back and they fight. But because the Russians are busy, because they are so entangled in Ukraine, they could not help Assad. Really, the next question is, what country's next? Does this spread? Do we see revolution in Iran? And oh, by the way, why didn't the Iranians help Assad? They're a little busy with Israel. Why didn't Hezbollah work north out of Lebanon into Syria and help Assad? They're busy with Israel. All of these things are connected. Where did the rebels get all their arms? Honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't the Turks. The Turks are no friends of Assad. The Turks, of course, aren't democratic anymore either. They're a dictatorship in their own right. But Erdogan is no friend of Assad. From the Associated Press. Now, this was This is written by Abdul Rahman Shaheen, Abby Sewell, and Sarah Al-Deeb. I believe the last update is, come on, scroll, 5:15 Greenwich Mean Time. Might have been from midnight, but I gotta think it was sooner than that. Headline is ousted Syrian leader Assad flees to Moscow after the fall of Damascus, Russian state media says. This phone doesn't want to. Oh, touchscreen, but just only when it works, when it wants to. I guess. Dateline Damascus. Again, this is from the Associated Press. It is the very first article when you open the app. Ousted Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad fled to Moscow and received asylum from his longtime ally, Russian media said Sunday, hours after a stunning rebel advance seized control of Damascus and ended his family's 50 years of iron rule. Thousands of Syrians poured into the streets, echoing with celebratory gunfire and waving the revolutionary flag in scenes that recalled the early days of the Arab Spring uprising before a brutal crackdown and the rise of an insurgency plunged the country into a nearly 14-year civil war. I didn't even realize it had been that long, to be honest with you. There's a chance they could have tried to break into civil war when his father passed to Bashar Assad. But I don't recall that, I have to be honest. The swiftly moving events raised questions about the future of the country and the wider region. Quote, our approach has shifted the balance of power in the Middle East, President Joe Biden said, crediting action by the U.S. and its allies for weakening Syria's backers, Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah. He called the fall of Assad a, quote, fundamental act of justice, but also a, quote, moment of risk and uncertainty. Said rebel groups now are saying the right things now, but the U.S. would assess their actions. Russia requested an emergency session of the UN Security Council to discuss Syria. It's always interesting to me how all sorts of nations, the U.S. does it too. In fact, we do it entirely too much. The UN is an institution that can, at times, be incredibly feckless. It can, at times, waste monumental amounts of money. It is an organization that is only as good, as promising, as accomplished as its member states allow it to be. At times, it can do incredible amounts of good, and very quickly. And at other times, it can't even decide what color pen to buy. And Russia uses it the way the U.S. uses it. The U.S. continues to shut down just about any vote that says anything, even that has a relatively realistic thought about Israel. But boy, it seems like when there's enough nations, when they're angry about something, they all jump on board. We should go to the United Nations and get the United Nations on this. No, you're pissed off, and you want to try to tell everybody that you're pissed off. So you're using the platform of the UN to let everybody know that you're pissed off. We already kind of knew that. If you really wanted to increase the credibility of the UN, you'd go along with things that the UN, maybe sometimes when you don't agree. Different topic for a different day. Russia requested an emergency session of the UN Security Council to discuss Syria, according to Dmitry Polyansky, its deputy ambassador to the UN, in a post on Telegram. The arrival of Assad and his family in Moscow was reported by Russian agencies TASS and RIA. TASS goes back to the Soviet days. I don't know RIA. That's citing an unidentified source at the Kremlin. A spokesman there didn't immediately respond to questions. RIA also said Syrian insurgents had guaranteed the security of Russian military bases and diplomatic posts in Syria. Earlier, Russia said Assad left Syria after negotiations with rebel groups and that he had given instructions to transfer power peacefully. My guess is just a guess, nothing other than a guess. The rebels let him keep his money. For a man that supposedly never really wanted to be king in the first place, and for all intent and purposes, what he was is king. They didn't call him king, but it's basically what he was. He probably let him keep his money. Or said, fine, you can leave, we won't kill you. Because I think the goal was to kill him the first time. That'll make a man desperate. And my guess is also the first time Russians, I almost said Soviets, because I just said Soviets 30 seconds ago, didn't offer him asylum. This time they did. And my guess also, the reason he took that asylum is because the rebels said, fine, take your money, just get out. Or you can keep X amount of your money. You can keep 10 billion of it, or whatever. I'm just throwing that number out there. But the leader of Syria's biggest rebel faction Abu Muhammad al-Golani, I think I actually may have gotten that one correct, is poised to chart the country's future. The former al-Qaeda commander cut ties with the group years ago. He says he embraces pluralism and religious tolerance. His group, I'm not going to try and pronounce that because I won't get it correct. His group is HTS. They loaded it. It's considered a terrorist organization by the U.S. and the UN. Anyway, that's it's a big story. It's a big story. You may have noticed a pattern here happening on the program in the last couple of weeks. That these foreign policy stories are really the big stories. We don't always think about that. Tend to look in a lot. There's nothing wrong with that. But we are part of something bigger. We might be the richest country on earth, but we're not the only country on earth. By the way, I know the data says we're the richest country on earth, but we don't. I'm sure as hell don't act like it. We have the country with the richest people. 3 of them, specifically. But yeah, I mean, that's us. These are big stories. The big stories. And they tell us a lot about ourselves. At least they should. They should. They should tell us a lot about who we are. In my mind. I know not everybody agrees with that. They should. So we do have time for a quickie call. 267-227-9189. We have got about 5-ish minutes left of the program. Do need to attend an actual meeting that I am required to attend. I was voted to this position to attend. So forgive me. I know it's a short show. You are watching us live right now on the Facebook pages of the TCP Media Group, Our Revolution Pennsylvania, Ghost Claw Productions, and Hot101.net. Also, my Facebook, Jeff Kennedy, and our home group Facebook page for all things that surround the program, That Other Side of Information. We are also live on our YouTube channel, That Other Side of Information. We're live on Twitch, Jeff R. Kennedy, and live on LinkedIn, Jeff Kennedy as well. Audio of the program blasting around the globe via hot101.net. Hot101.net, our name is our web address. Just type it in. You can connect to the internet anywhere below, on, or above Earth. You can listen to hot101.net, period, end of story, 24/7. Hot101.net. You can use our apps, Apple App Store, Google Play Store for Android, and the TuneIn Radio app. And of course, you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net. GCPR.live is our other radio station, our other radio outlet. We got one of the very first internet radio outlets, one of the very newest internet radio outlets, GCPR.live, GCPR.live, GCPR.live. We will be back on GCPR.live Tuesday and Thursday from 8 p.m. Now, immediately following us on Hot 101, the music resumes. GCPR, Villain's View from 9 p.m. Conversations with T. Nathan from 11. Thomas kicks off your broadcast week tomorrow morning, The Sound of Coffee. And I'll be back Tuesday and Thursday. Got a couple minutes if you want to jump in. Here's another one from the file of Told You So. And I'm sorry, I'm going to do a bunch of these stories. Told you so. Told you this was coming. told you that what they were telling you was bullshit, told you were being lied to, told you were being lied to for a decade now. Now the truth's coming out. Headline: Trump says he can't guarantee. I'm going to take the contraction out for radio purposes. Trump says he cannot guarantee tariffs will not raise U.S. prices and will not rule out revenge prosecutions. From the Associated Press, Bill Barrow and Will Weissert are the authors of this article. Dateline, Washington. Donald Trump said he cannot guarantee that his promised tariffs on key U.S. foreign trade partners won't raise prices for American consumers, and he suggested once more that some political rivals and federal officials who pursued legal cases against him should be imprisoned. The president-elect, in a wide-ranging interview with NBC's Meet the Press that aired Sunday, also touched on monetary policy, immigration, abortion, and healthcare, and U.S. involvement in Ukraine, Israel, and elsewhere. Trump often mixed declarative statements with caveats, at one point cautioning things do change. It's a long article. I would suggest going to YouTube and watching the interview that would have been with Kristen Walker, Meet the Press on NBC. But this definitely comes from the I told you so category. It's definitely the I told you so. Told you this was coming. Now, to be honest, many of you on this program kind of already feel the same way I do about these things. So it is a bit of preaching to the choir. But for those of you who are listening who do not agree with me, and there are those of you who are listening who don't agree, there just are. I know there are. This is what's coming. Very, very interesting. Poll came out this week. And I think it was about 56% of the people said they do not want drunks, drug addicts, and felons to be part of the presidential cabinet. Well, by default, some of that very same number voted for Trump. So what the frack did you think you were going to get? Please don't tell me that you're that fracking stupid. What the ever-living frack did you think you were going to get? And at the same time, I think that poll was actually quite hopeful that you still don't want drunks, drug addicts, and felons in the executive branch. Seems to be that one of the only prerequisites, if there are any, to be in the Trump cabinet is that you have to be a drunk, a drug addict, or a felon. So it's nice that a majority of Americans don't want to see that. except that there has to be some crossover there. That if 54 to 56%, because I'm saying that because I honestly don't remember if it was 54 or 56. So I'm saying it's somewhere in between. And I don't mean 54. But to say that 54 or 56% of the people do not want to see drug addicts, drunks, and felons in the cabinet, some of those very same people voted for Trump. What the hell did you think you were going to get? So there's going to be some I told you so on this program. And it kind of goes back to what I said about a very small slice of my Hispanic friends who didn't just vote for Trump, but like really laid out flat for him. And really worked hard for him. When the paneled van comes for you, when they drag you out of your house with zip ties around your wrists, behind your back, and they throw you in the back of that van because you're Puerto Rican, and that's not American. And the van goes down the street, and you're pounding on the walls of it from inside, looking at me saying, "Help me." What did you think was going to happen? So now Trump's elected. He's president-elect. It's coming in about 6 weeks. He's coming. Nothing's going to stop it. There's nothing in the Constitution to stop it. He's coming. And all the shit that he's bringing with him. And now you're beginning to hear Stephen Miller. Yeah. We're looking to take all the Haitians out of the country, even the ones that are here legally. Yeah, Puerto Rican's not the same as American. Pete Hegseth. Women don't belong in combat. Here's my mom to defend me. Pam Bondi. We're going to prosecute the prosecutors. Kash Patel. We should shut down the FBI. Except for the ways that Trump wants me to use it. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? I told you all along. Stay tuned. I got to run, kids. I got a meeting. It's a short show. Told you it would be. For my friends and family at hot101.net, thank you very, very much for DJ Lex, DJ Earl, and a very happy, happy birthday to DJ Earl, by the way. Can you believe? I've known DJ Earl now for, I think, 6 years. I can hardly believe it in all the time that I've known him. It only is now that he's turned 21. It's an amazing, amazing thing. And I don't think he has it in his nature to be a big drinker. But boy, now that he's 21, I just hope he's very, very careful about it. So for everyone at hot101.net, that of course is the two big bosses, DJ Lex. Well, there's one big boss, that's DJ Lex. And then DJ Earl. And they know I'm telling the truth. And DJ Earl. But a happy, hearty, happy birthday to DJ Earl. For everybody at GCPR. That's Thomas and Gambit and Gilbert and everybody, because I can't even name them all anymore. For everybody at the Kennedy Effect, that's Lynn and George and Kristen and Daisy the dog. And of course, for April Riddick, I'm Jack Kennedy. Now, I will return on GCPR and these video outlets on Tuesday night, from 8 p.m. For my friends and family at hot101.net, the music will resume immediately after we sign off. For my friends, family, listeners at GCPR, the Villain's View begins from 9 p.m. tonight. Go get some dinner, have some ice cream, walk the dog, whatever it is you need to do. Villain's View from 9. Conversations with T. Nathan from 11. Thomas kicks off your broadcast week tomorrow morning from 8 a.m. The Sound of Coffee. Thanks so much for being with us tonight, for being patient with us with these different health problems and technical problems, shortened shows, holiday schedules, the whole thing. All of you are simply the best. We couldn't do it without you. We'll see you again on Tuesday night. Have a wonderful, wonderful work week. We're almost to the Christmas holiday and a break for a lot of us. We deserve it. So take care of yourselves